All set? Good morning, all, and welcome to the annual meeting of St. Martin's Church. Oh, okay, I have to. And there are people watching online, and so welcome and thank you for joining us. Our agenda is relatively straightforward. If you don't have a copy of that, we're going to have a few people speaking. And if you have questions, we are going to have a question and answer section at the end, so just hold on to that. We are going to start with an opening prayer by Reverend Linda.
The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those of us at St. Martin's Church who take counsel in this annual meeting for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. And as is our tradition, we always remember those who have died in the past year. We remember especially Harold Hal Connor, Peter Lyle, Margaret McDonald, Bill McMaster, and of course we remember our beloved Mary Worrell. May they rest in God's loving arms in eternal light. Amen.
Linda mentioned in her sermon this morning, is it 34 of the founders? 34, 35 of the founders were Anglican Christians, who at that point in time were members of the Church of England and the colonies, and then became members of the Episcopal Church following the Revolution. And so I mention that because it helps to explain a little bit about what we're doing now and why we do it this way. Of course, the founders were establishing the kind of democratic process for the setting up of the governance of the new republic, so with the two houses in Congress and a president and a court. They sought to reflect something of that balance within the structure of the Episcopal Church. And so the Episcopal Church has this annual meeting, which is the expression of the voice of the congregation. And our governance is also a kind of separation of powers. You have me as the rector. I have a very distinct area of authority. And you also have Sheila and the members of the vestry who have a completely different area of authority. The vestry is concerned with money and with property. We know that you must never let the clergy anywhere near money. And the rector is responsible for the public worship, for the preaching, teaching, and pastoral care of the congregation. And so we work in this tandem process. The rector does not work for the vestry. The rector works in cooperation and collaboration with the vestry. My authority comes from my being the bishop's representative in the parish, and in terms of the requirement or necessity for any disciplining of me, it is the bishop who does it, not the church vestry. And so we have this principle that is set up in the structure of Congress that is reflected in our church because the people who did the work in one area were also members of the church in the other. And so today at the annual meeting, the most important things that we do are the receiving of the budget for the current year. The budget has been compiled and has been agreed by the vestry and is now presented to you, the congregation, for receiving. The other thing we do is we have the election of officers and members of the vestry. And you'll see all that information is in the annual report. So those are the two things that we really must do. What else we're doing is we're looking at the key elements of the annual report, and you can take it home, and you've all received electronic copies, in order to inform us, to give us a really accurate picture of the state of the parish and of the importance of the work that we are accomplishing. We are an amazing community, punching way above our weight. And it's all in here. And I hope you'll use this as a source of encouragement. Thank you.
I didn't introduce myself, but my name is Sheila Hogaboam, and I have been the senior warden for the last 2 years. And Brian Robert, who's here, has been my junior warden. So just, if you didn't see the agenda in your packet, I'm just going to give a quick highlight of what's to come, and then I am going to call for approval of the minutes of the last meeting a year ago. So we're going to have a treasurer's report. We're going to have highlights of the Thrifty Goose. We're going to have an update on the organ search and selection by Gabe Alfieri. We're going to have a report from the rector, a few comments from myself. We're going to thank outgoing vestry members, and then the presentation of the slate of new vestry members. And then, as I said, I will open for questions. And then, Mark, we may make some closing comments about the year ahead. How's that sound? Cover everything? Very good. So may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the 2024 annual meeting? Susan Allen. 2020, no, it's 2024, because we had the meeting a year ago. Susan Allen's made a motion. May I have a second? Okay, and any question or discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes of that annual meeting? Thank you. It's approved. Next, we have our treasurer, Stevens McAleer.
Can everybody hear me?
You have to hold it right close.
Can you hear me?
Closer.
Closer.
Yeah.
Boy. Well, it's a privilege to be here. And I am actually going to read my presentation, make sure I don't forget anything. But I will say in overview that 2025 was very challenging, but we did end up with a balanced budget. And let me please highlight the following. Throughout the year, St. Martin's finances benefit from oversight by the Finance Committee, the vestry, and last but not least, the Investment Committee, which has been headed by Flay Lewis for over 2 decades. And with his collaboration with Sam Hollowell, they bring a staggering, if I guess it right, 100+ years of capital markets experience. And we're very blessed to have them make sure that we don't blow it in terms of investments. Okay. My eyes have to adjust a little bit here. Again, last fall, these are 2 things, sort of highlights that I think are important that are indirectly related to, or directly related to our financials. Warwick-based CPA firm Campana, Sarah, Tetchwasian, who also are the diocese's auditor, positively reviewed St. Martin's 2024 calendar year financials to assess general conformity with diocesan guidelines. And we did very well in that analysis. In addition, last fall, St. Martin's property and casualty insurance coverage was reviewed by senior representatives of church insurance companies, which is not a household word or not an all-state, but they are a very powerful and well-organized insurance operation under the auspices of the National Pension Fund of the Episcopal Church. And they spent time here visiting the church, and they left impressed by the physical condition and beauty of St. Martin's. So I feel very proud of that. And we're not like one church I belonged to before had chronic deferred maintenance. And I have to take my hat off to David Brookhart and his team and the sextons for being on top of everything in this beautiful, albeit 100-plus-year-old property. Again, focusing my eyes. Oh, there it is, magic. We had a balanced budget, which takes a terrific amount of effort, and I take my hat off to Melinda, who makes sure that every nickel that comes in and goes out it has been accounted for. So a special thanks to Melinda for staying on top of the financials. Our budget is also going to be balanced, and there are two key elements that are changed, sort of the key delta. And that is we are greatly reducing our reliance on endowment income and capital draws to cover operating expenses. And which is consistent with the admonitions that Mark shared with us when he began the whole sort of communications and outreach program with parishioners to up their ante and their pledge. And this has been very, very successful and has reduced pressure on our endowment so it can continue to compound and grow and be sort of our anchor to windward in the future. Because we clearly face a lot of uncertainties, whether it be geopolitically, politically, or economically or financially. So the budget is balanced. Now there's two other sort of items I want to talk about that I think are, and conclude. The one major thing is St. Martin's Church costs a ton of money to maintain. The and thanks to David, we're on top of the capital needs. But this is no minor rounding error. We spent over $200,000 in long-term, costly, complicated capital improvements last year. And we have a similar, slightly larger number next year. Now, hopefully this will end at some point, because we can't just rebuild the whole doggone church. But this 100-plus-year-old church is beautiful to look at, but it costs a lot of money, and it requires the dedicated support of our parish, which we've come through in flying colors. But I think this is something to really be mindful and to pay attention. This is sort of the one thing in the horizon. It's hard to completely anticipate what it will be. So I think in conclusion, I think that we are in a very strong position to attract a high caliber new rector, because we have an overlay of controls over our financials. We have strong parishioner support. There are a couple things that I wouldn't say worry, but we want to pay close attention. In addition to the capital maintenance of keeping this lovely church going for another 100 years, plus years, is the apportionment and how that has grown from around $89,000 a year or so ago to, I do a back of the envelope projection, it would be over $110,000. So I think we have to be mindful of that process, and maybe, quite frankly, as one of the larger churches in Episcopal churches in Rhode Island, weigh in with the powers that be in terms of trying to manage that. So it's a little bit like working at a sausage factory, being treasurer and having a better understanding of what goes on. But I haven't decided not to eat the sausage, but to continue on. And I'll turn it over to Melinda, and thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Steve. Does everybody know what apportionment is? What we mean by that? So across the diocese, each church pays money in to our Rhode Island diocese, to the bishop's office. And each church is assessed based on their ability to give. Would you say that's correct? And Steve refers to it as a tax, but we pay in the $90,000 range from our annual pledges up to the church. And with that money, they pay staff, they take care of property, and they also have a lot of outreach and grants to the community. So they don't keep it all. They're very generous. And actually, we get some grant money back if we apply for certain things. But it's just something to be mindful of. We don't see that money. We don't actually get to use it, but it goes toward the greater good. Do you have particular questions about finance? Sure, let's try. This past year? 4.5% and 5%. It's in line with what we had expected. It was not over our expected goal. Does anybody else have questions about the financials? Okay. Thank you, Steve and Melinda, for our lots of work to prepare for this and also to get by every day. I'd like to invite John Maranzana to come up and speak. And John is the manager of our thrift store, the Thrifty Goose. Do you want to? I've asked him to come and say a few words about the operation. Now, before he starts, who has been to the Thrifty Goose in the last year?
Everybody.
Everybody, good. Well, if I will let John speak.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Sheila. Oh, thank you. I'm going to pull this over here a little bit. I was delighted and am delighted to have been invited by the vestry and by the parish to make a presentation here today about the Thrifty Goose. Thank you. And, I share with you that aside from the birth of my granddaughter 8 years ago, and my daughter a multiple number of years before that, the Thrifty Goose has been the delight of my life. And so I have been enjoying it. Yes, truly. She laughs. In any event, we, the church, and the vestry have been blessed, in my opinion, first of all, by the parish with all the donations. The donations are not only wonderful, but they're copious. And that really helps us to sort and to sell everything as well as we can. I have to say again, I'm delighted to be a part of the team of the Thrifty Goose, but the Thrifty Goose is run by the volunteers, and they need to be commended for their commitment of time, flexibility, and changing ways we do business, and being a part of the growth that we're involved with. The other part we're blessed with is, I think, our what I call guests. You may wonder, why would I call someone coming to the Thrifty Goose a guest? The bottom line is I was trained many years ago by Disney. to understand how that all works. And so every guest who comes to the Goose is treated that way. They don't have to buy a thing. We welcome them and we say goodbye. And we've been blessed by wonderful, wonderful guests. And then finally, even as recent as yesterday, Google reviews, Instagram, even TikTok, all the kudos we're getting has helped bring new people in. I'd say every time we have a store day, probably somewhere in the range of 25 to 30% are new people. Why do I say that? Because I ask them, how did you hear of us? They tell us. We had a Google review from yesterday, which was off the charts, a 5. She was delighted, first visit. So what have we done? Essentially, we've improved our retail operation in terms of how the intake comes, how we do pricing, how we do all of our merchandising. Really makes a big difference. And as a result of that, 2025 over 2024, we realized a 30% increase in revenue coming in. I'm delighted with all of that, and really has worked quite well. A part of that was a bit of a test that we did called a boutique, where we took some of the high-end things and we have higher prices on them. Generally, yesterday, for example, mink coat came in on Friday, and I had it ready to go on Saturday, and we sold it for $250. If that were on the floor, we would have been lucky to get $100. So you can see where that uplift is working. And in terms of the volunteers, we currently have 9 volunteers, and I have 4 more that are now waiting to come on. How do they find us? They come to the store, they like what they see, they say, how do I volunteer to be here? So I have 4 new applications coming in. So that's a good sign going forward. In terms of 26, the budget for 26, as you saw here, is $125,000. It's about a 25% increase from 25. It's pretty hefty, but I'm ready for it. I'm happy to report the trends are looking good. Yesterday was the last of January, and we did $9,000 in January, which is a 30% increase over last year. And we're going to keep going that way as much as we can. How are we doing that? We're strengthening the boutique, and critical at this point, it took us a long time to get here, we're going to be going online. And with great help from Nate, we're now going and actualize that. I'm hoping, God willing, by early March. I have now guests coming in saying, when are you going online? I say, trust us, we're going to get there. And they like that because they don't have to necessarily come to the shop. They go there to look for the key things, and they say, well, if we buy it, I said, we take it off the shelf here. If it comes off the shelf here, then Nate will set it up so it comes off online. And we're going to start with eBay and whatnot. But we're probably going to end up going on 6 to 8 different platforms. Now that leads us then to how do we build from there? I must say, in almost closing, that the boutique and now the online, in my opinion, is as the Brits say, it's a beta or a beta. It's a beta because I believe it can be much bigger than that. And I will be working closely with the new vestry, looking at new ways to grow that and invite other entities to join in our online store, because then we can increase our revenue without increasing our footprint. So that's where we're going. I would like to add in my closing that we said a lot very quickly. I am delighted to have anyone ask a question after the meeting today. Send me an email, stop by the store. I look for your advice, your guidance, because the wisdom is out there. I'm just the one who actualizes it. Thanks very much. Oh, okay. Sheila suggested I can't take questions now if anybody has any. If you ask them,
Volunteer, that's what I want. They're hesitant to mention it right now.
There you go. Again, if you don't want it as a public thing, come and see me. I'm quite open, and I'd love to talk.
Thank you, John. Melinda.
So we're well within standard 3.28 that Slay mentioned.
Can I give this to you? Okay. So that we can
Thank you, Melinda.
questions be linked. Okay.
Next, I would like to invite Gabe Alfieri to come up and speak about his work selecting the new organ.
Hi, thanks. Is John here? John, can you just come up?
All right, well.
I'm going to read my comments too. We've known for a while that our organ is in pretty bad shape. It was installed 70 years ago in 1956 and sadly hasn't been well maintained for much of that time, till John arrived in 2022, at which point he suggested that we contract with Foley Baker, an organ servicer out of Connecticut, for regular maintenance and tuning, which we did. Before then, servicing was erratic and frankly subpar, as we discovered when Foley Baker took over. In December 2024, Mark asked me to head a task force to explore our options going forward. On the task force were John, David Ames, he's not here, Tom Barr, are you here, Tom? And Brian Robert. And I'd like to thank all of them for working with me on this for 8 months, from December through July. Basically, there were two options, repair and renovation or replacement. So we consulted with Foley Baker and they provided us with an estimate for renovation as well as the names of some reputable builders if we decided to replace the instrument. For a full renovation, their most basic estimate came in at a minimum of $800,000. We began talking to and meeting with the reps from other companies in December. The most feasible options were a new digital instrument or a hybrid that would allow us to incorporate some of our existing pipes into a digital system. The company Marshall and Ogletree in Dedham specializes in high-end hybrid instruments, but their estimate came in at over $500,000 just to build the new system, even before the cost of renovating the existing pipes. Allen, at around $200,000, was the budget option, but none of us had a great feeling about the rep, and the company's reputation is not great. The representative from Walker Technical, on the other hand, impressed us all, as did their detailed estimate, which came in at under $300,000, with the possibility to equip the new console with stops that could be connected to our existing pipes should we ever choose to go hybrid. So the option is there in this scenario. After presenting our findings to the vestry last summer, we went to try a Walker organ in Connecticut, and I think at that point the vestry was pretty much sold. Walker is also the company that provided the National Cathedral with a temporary digital instrument during the recent overhaul of their pipe organ. As for the pros and cons of digital instruments, the cons include the fact that the sounds are digital, which essentially means that they're recorded samples of other organs, and to the ears of the experts, such as John and Tom, lack the complexity and je ne sais quoi of the real thing. As for pros, a digital organ needs minimal maintenance, which means that after installation, we will no longer be spending the $8,000 to $10,000 annually for tuning and maintenance that we have been spending. We can be very selective about which sounds we choose for our new instrument. Hymns can be instantly transposed to keys that are better for congregational singing. And perhaps most exciting of all, we can improve how the organ sounds in the church with the careful placement of the speaker system. Not to mention that the future, any future, is most likely digital. Thank you. Thank you.
Because I think there's a lot of confusion in people's minds. We're not talking about an electronic organ. Electronic organs create a facsimile sound, which is nowhere near the sound of a pipe organ. A digital organ is like a giant computer. It has stored in its memory banks thousands of recordings of authentic pipe sounds. So if we choose to, we can sound like Notre Dame if we want to celebrate the 14th of July. Or we can sound like a quintessential English instrument. It's enormous flexibility. And the surround sound is excellent because all the sound at the moment is up there, and there's a time lag between there and the back of the church. And I'll take this opportunity to say and to launch our public appeal to raise funds for the new digital organ. Our target is $300,000, and I am very pleased to be able to say that in the quiet phase of this campaign, I have been able to speak to certain individuals, and we start the public phase of the campaign having already raised $200,000. So,
does anyone have any questions that I may be able to answer? The question is, what is it like playing a digital organ? It's very similar to playing a pipe organ. These days, the major builders of digital instruments, such as Walker, are very, very good at building consoles with all the equipment and the electronic and upgraded systems that you would find in a major pipe organ builder. And basically, in terms of the difference between this current console and the instrument here and a new digital console is night and day. In a good way. The technical abilities of the digital organ that is being produced today is remarkable. There's virtually no difference between playing the console of a quality pipe organ and a quality digital organ.
And John's going to be closely involved in the whole design process, choosing the sounds, what things go where to some extent. So it's very customizable in lots of different ways.
Yes. Yes.
They will, yes. Oh, she asked if the pipes we have will stay where they are. Yes, they're not going anywhere. We will have the option, which we may or may not ever use, to potentially connect them into the new instrument, but that's a whole other project with its own whole other funding issues. I honestly don't know. Do you know?
Do not know.
no. What a relief.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. He asked if we could incorporate into the sounds of the new organ this old organ, which would be a process of recording them and then digitizing them. Neither of us know the answer to that.
No.
Well, we don't know exactly. Oh, I'm sorry. Dana asked how long it's going to take to get this going. The nice thing about having a new organ built is that we don't have to stop using the existing organ until it stops on its own. Like, for example, today John came into a leak, dropping right down onto the...
There's a leak from the roof onto the organ. I know what exactly.
But that is one of the good things about this scenario is that we can continue to use this organ while they're building the new one, and then the process of installation is relatively quick. Couple of months.
That they would shut us off, and we could use the piano, and then it would be up and running. 2 months that they would be here installing the new instrument. That number is kind of what I remember.
They did tell me, though, just this week that they are 8 to 12 months out. So none of this is going to start unless they get a gap in their schedule. None of this is going to start immediately. Thank you. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a lot of work, and they went out to many churches and played many different instruments and put in a lot of time, and we greatly appreciate it. So thank you. Oh, that's all right. Rector's report.
I beg your indulgence if I read sections from my annual report. I don't normally do this, but this is my last annual report, and there are some things in it that I really want to say. I'm experiencing the flow of events one by one for the last time as the rector of this parish, and this includes my realization that this is my last annual meeting report. Seeing retirement on the horizon underscored the need to plan in 2025 for a more active annual renewal campaign. I felt it was important to invest significant effort in the 2025 Fall Stewardship Drive by assembling a team of volunteers willing to go out and spread the good news about the Gospel's proclamation at St. Martin's. And guided by the lofty aspiration of doubling our pledge income to significantly reduce the draw on the endowment. The volunteers set out in good biblical fashion, 2 by 2, and they returned to report on how significant the home visits were as a relationship bonding exercise. Now, not everybody got visited. We took a slice of the pledge profile, so I met with the large givers simply to thank them. And we know that we have a section of the pledge profile of people who are in monetary terms, who are not giving very much, but they are giving what we estimate is within their ability to give. And then we have this group in the middle who are giving below what we can reasonably assess is their financial capacity to give. They were the people who were visited. And the upshot of the visits, twofold, as I mentioned, the visitors came back inspired by the quality of the encounter with those visited. And the other result is that we significantly increased, we didn't double it, but we significantly increased the pledge income. The monetary results in 2024, the capital campaign, the annual stewardship campaign raised $347,000 in pledge income. In 2025, that increased to $224 of projected pledge income. So that is a 39% increase. And I want to thank you, the members of the parish, who responded so willingly and so generously to enable us to achieve that result. Our number of pledging units, which over the years has been falling, which is not a problem for us in particular, in isolation, it's a problem right across the board in all mainstream denominations. The numbers of pledging units are falling because the people who have pledging as part of their bloodstream are unfortunately the people who are moving on their way to greater glory, leaving the rest of us who are not who have not been inculcated with the importance of supporting an institution. We have a lot of people, particularly younger people, who are very passionate about causes, but don't seem to understand that causes need structures and institutions to enable them to function. And so the giving to the church is, as an institution, needs to be much more part of our thinking and our responsibilities as Christian disciples. But, good news, we increased our pledging numbers by 15, which was enough to offset the predictable loss of 10. We lose most of our pledging units through death. So we're not only holding our own, but we're slightly in a better position than we were a year ago. Today, reviewing the church's online presence is a necessary prelude to testing it out before anybody appears through our red doors on a Sunday morning. Our website and live stream have greatly increased our exposure. For instance, an average of 21 people regularly participate in the Sunday liturgy in real time, with a further 70 visiting the live stream throughout the rest of the week. The tech team report is very encouraging reading. St. Martin's has positioned itself in the religious marketplace. I don't suppose that's a concept many of you think about, but for me, it's been an essential concept in terms of understanding where we need to be in terms of the range and variety of what is on offer across the church profiles. And my view has always been that we need to position ourselves as the place where, and I think this makes us unique in this diocese, the place where traditional Anglican liturgy is valued as something that reassures and encourages us, coupled with what I call radical theological and social messaging. So that's the message that comes from the pulpit. And sometimes that message is for some in the parish a little bit too much. But just remember that the goal is to speak meaningfully into the reality of the lives that we are actually living. And when I came, I would occasionally be invited to have a drink with someone. The single malt would be rolled out. And the message would be, we really value what you're saying, but you might want to tone it down a bit. Contrast that with the message that I get now, which is, we come here because of the dynamic preaching that both Linda and I are engaged in from the pulpit. And so we are positioned in this niche. There are other churches with good traditional Anglican worship, but very lousy social messaging. There are other churches that have good social messaging, but really lousy liturgy. We aim to be excellent at both. And this will be an important element to keep in mind as you begin the search for the next rector. Over the last year, 65 people completed visitor cards. I don't have the figure of those 65 who stayed and who didn't, but our experience is that even just one encounter with the magnetic quality of our community is enough to bring people back. Now, it's with a deep gratitude that I will conclude my tenure as rector at the end of April. For me, this has been an opportunity to work with a truly unique community. A community defined by the deep and generous talents of its members. I cannot imagine what it will be like for me not being an integral part of this wonderful community, but I guess I'm going to find out. The central focus of my ministry here has been the encouragement and development of healthy community. We've been on an amazing journey together, which I found deeply enriching. And I've noticed that together we have molded each other. I am not the person who arrived in 2014, and neither are you the community I came to in 2014. And I believe that, certainly it's been my experience, that we have rubbed off against each other and reshaped and molded the relationship that we now so richly enjoy. I know that I leave this community in good spirits and strong resolve, confident in its capacity to continue to participate in the unfolding of God's dream of the restoring of creation. If you were to ask me, what is the purpose of the church? What are we doing here? We're doing lots of good things. We're doing lots of good works. Our ministries are very, very effective and valued. But we're not here just to do that. We are here to have our eyes fixed firmly on what our Jewish neighbors would call the repairing of the world. What I call the unfolding dream of God for the renewal and restoration of creation. That is our central purpose. And it's summed up in a very beautiful collect in the Book of Common Prayer, which is used in a number of places, but principally we use it in the ordination service for a deacon. O God of unchangeable power and eternal light, look favorably on your whole church, that wonderful and sacred mystery. By the effectual working of your providence, carry out in tranquility the plan of salvation. Let the whole world see and know that things which were being cast down are being raised up, and things which had grown old are being made new, and that all things are being brought to their perfection by him through whom all things were made, your Son, Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
No crying at the annual meeting, although I did lose it when I heard Mary Worrell died, so I'm holding it together now. I have a few comments to make. It has been a great time for me as senior warden, and I have been a member of St. Martin's for 38 years, but this is the first time I've even been on the vestry. So my past 3 years have been right for me. It was like the time was right, and it really worked out. So a few highlights over the past year, and I'll try not to duplicate what Mark has said. The creation and the work of the Organ Research Committee was outstanding. We helped select them, we charged them with what to do, and they came back with a great answer, and that it's really, it means a lot to me. I participate in a lot of meetings out in the community with other wardens that are often run by the, by the Rhode Island Episcopal Church, and that has been so insightful to me to see how other churches are run and what their challenges are. And of course, it's always nice to reflect on, well, we don't have that problem, but to share what we've learned. And when I can share what our work of David Burkhart and the property committee of property people are doing to have a 5-year plan with another small church, it is invaluable. And when I see how they have the phones answered at their church, I get insight from us, for us. So that engagement has been personally very invaluable to me. The vestry has taken time to invite each staff member to present to them about what their role is and what do they actually do upstairs or downstairs. Very informative, and you see our parish pays more staff members than many parishes that are even larger than us. And they do a great work for us. The growth of the Thrifty Goose, it is just, we're all clapping and laughing, but it is astounding. I know Karen, who's here, has run there. Jennifer, I consider a staff member down there. People have dedicated a lot of time to growing it to get it up to where John could take it on to another level. And it is something that not only churches are looking at, but other institutions of resale in the state and beyond are following. Let's not forget Mark's 10th anniversary party and our beautiful event to honor our clergy in the spring, and what a grand honor for all of us, and a really fun party also. I want to say a little bit about the estate sale. You all did an amazing job of cleaning and decluttering your homes, as well as many people in the community who said they had things to bring to us to fill the Great Hall. For me, the highlight was the 35 people who signed up to volunteer to help. Over 3 days, we had plenty of people there to welcome guests, to help move furniture, but also just to help sell the stuff. And we had an excellent success over the 3 days, and financially, we exceeded our expectations financially. And it was a lot of fun. So thank you to all of you for helping to make that happen. As I said in my report, I want to thank the staff who do a beautiful job, Mark, Linda, Susan Esposito, Lisa Ash, and Melinda, for all they do to manage the parish on a day-to-day basis. In the basement, we have David Brookhart, David Ely, and Robbie Mantooth. You know, it is, you come here and it's clean and it's prepared and the chairs are where you want to have them, and someone has done that for you. And it is in many churches, you show up and the hall is empty and you put out your chairs. So our staff really thinks ahead and spends an inordinate, not an inordinate, but a lot of time planning for your pleasure and to have your religious experience something that you won't forget. And I think it shows at St. Martin's. And also, running our ministries is everybody who is here who does work to make the church run, but every hour that you personally spent helping another parishioner is something we should honor. So thank you all. My last thing is I want to talk about what's ahead and how we are finally beginning, or not finally, but beginning our process of saying goodbye to Mark. And we will start the process of selecting a new rector. Some of the things have already started. The vestry met with the bishop's representative, the Reverend Canon Dina Cleaver Bartholomew, who you will all get to know because she will be meeting with us frequently over the process. And we are now setting the date of our first meeting with her. And let me assure you, first of all, a lot of you have already said, I want to help, I want to help. Very good. There'll be something for everybody to do based on your experience and the time you have to commit. But coming out in a week or two in the e-news, there'll be a full outline of everything and every role that people will be able to play. And this will be a lengthy process, probably a year if we're lucky. But we will outline the specific roles and responsibilities and the skills that we need to get started and to complete the self-study, the discernment and selection process. But Canon Dina has already told the vestry that you can start now, and that is with prayer. And to pray for Mark in this transition, to pray for our process of going ahead. And we will actually write a prayer that we will all pray at every meeting, every event, to ground ourselves all together in this process. And I think you can start to pray for the vestry and the leadership who are going to take this on, because we are going to be really busy. What are we calling it? St. Martin's Next Big Adventure. I think Brian has set us up for that. This is a ministry, and this will lead our parish into the next decade. And luckily, we are in an excellent position, and we are a strong body of loving people who will work together to get that work done. So, thank you very much. Thank you. Now we're thanking our outgoing members.
So we have several members of the vestry who are stepping down. Two are not here today, Claire Kokoska and Donna Huntley, but we thank them for their service. So I have little gift cards here for Susan Costas and for Sheila Hugenboom. Now come up, Susan. So Susan Costas has been on the vestry for 3 years, but this is not her first rodeo. She's been round that track many times because she is a long-time member of this community. And so we thank you for your service, and we are very appreciative that your husband will be picking up the baton. I have been extremely fortunate in that I have always had the wardens, both the senior and junior wardens, that were needed for the particular moment in time. It's been remarkable to me how the wardens have kind of arisen with the skills and the energy to face the various challenges that have been coming at us. I don't know quite how that works, but I'm grateful for it. I'm very grateful for Sheila and Brian. Brian is stepping down as junior warden, but he's remaining on the vestry. So sorry, Brian, you don't get a card. I have to say that I have never had a warden like Sheila. Let me explain what that means. Sheila has brought her deep love for this community and her boundless energy to the role of senior warden. She has wanted to be involved with many aspects of our life that often senior wardens don't quite touch. But it's because her concern and the bringing of her skill set that she's developed over many years out in other non-voluntary voluntary organizations, to bring those skills to our energizing and re-energizing of our parish life. And I am immensely thankful to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a thought to share about Sheila. I think of you as the unsinkable Molly Brown. Molly didn't go down with Titanic, and you haven't gone down either. But one thing that Sheila does is that she looks out at the horizon for who needs help and where the holes are. And that's what Molly Brown did. And you survived, and she's so cheerful. And I think that's one of the nicest things that you saw, that you really look out for others. You've done a great job. So now you can look out for yourself.
Well, what I would think about Susan Lipscomb when she first came to St. Martin's, when she joined the vestry, they used to have a 2-day orientation retreat down at the Stone House in Little Compton, and you were young, unmarried and single, and so she goes down with the vestry down there, and they're like, "Well, do you drink scotch?" So I don't know. She, well, let's try, and so it was like that. Those were completely different. A 2-day overnight retreat at the Stone House. In snow. So
And beach golf.
I thought it was Jock Knowles.
The two of you taught me how to drink a single malt scotch properly.
So we grow with the years here at the parish. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Let me call up all the people that will be on the vestry, and first I'm going to call out their names. We have, for the offices, Senior Warden Elizabeth Welchman, Junior Warden Hugh Gorman, Treasurer Steve McAleer, Clerk Tony Catone. And then, come on up. For the 3-year term of till 2029, we have Rebecca Kidwell, Paige Mackney, Richard Porter. Continuing on, we have Connie Hildesley, Sarah Walker, and Jude Costas, who is stepping in to fill a vacancy. Then we have Rich Gruber, who is away. We could have Jane come up. Brian Robert and David Whitman. And then we have delegates to the Diocesan Convention, Lenny Cambra and Meg Lopresti. Is everybody here? Thank you all. So may I have a motion to accept the slate of vestry members for the year 2026? Bill Hollinshead and Susan Allen as a second. Any comments? How darn lucky we are. May I have a vote to accept the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you very much, and thank you all. That concludes our annual meeting. Oh, please, please.
Following on from my comments about the significance of the particular senior wardens, it's wonderful to have Elizabeth Welshman offering herself to be senior warden in this period of transition into the new chapter in the parish life with the selection of the new rector. She was the senior warden when I arrived through that process, and I'm just delighted.
Annual meeting to a close. Where's our clerk? It's 12:30. Thank you very much, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.